So do you use any extra lights when you do lighting? Is there any of your screenshots where you had like multiple lights to fill in an area or get a rim light or fix a too dark shadow or anything? Or do you normally use just the light source, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, the way I'm working usually is I start with a key light. If I'm doing like an entire environment or something like that, I'm going to use a main key light, then secondary light. But I'm always using some bake point light that's not casting shadow. If I need to fill up, if there's one section that the shadow are too black, I'm going to use a static point light, no shadow casting, just super subtle, just to lift up everything so we can see a bit of detail in the shadow and it's not completely pitch black. Rim light, you talk about rim light, that's the thing I love most is putting rim light everywhere, even if it doesn't make sense. I'm guilty of it, and I'm doesn't feel ashamed of saying it, but like rim light make everything look super good. So sometimes I put rim light in angle that doesn't make sense with the actual light source, but that's a tip for people starting. Nobody's gonna notice it except other lighting artists who pay super attention to those details. But it's just gonna make it look nice, and nobody's gonna ask where that light's coming from. It's just gonna look nice. And
so you did that a lot in this game?
Yeah, I did that a lot. And having it's usually when I do rim light, it's all static, like it's a static spotlight that I put in some key place just to make it everything pop a little bit.
Well, we'll make that into competition. Can you find all William's rim light in the game?
They're everywhere. It's not gonna be that hard, but yeah.
So is this rim light, is that an extra light or?
Yeah, it's extra spotlight that I place in specific case that it's bake, so it doesn't cost it doesn't cost like another dynamic light. For example, in this section, I can tell you that there's a spotlight right here just for this this cauldron here, just to make it pop, having it a bit more detail. It's another light that I place to run this section. I'm pretty sure, like, even if there's a big source there, I've added another just to have a bit of light catching in that section.
It's interesting because normally when I do rim light, I use dynamic without shadow, but you use static without shadow. It's interesting.
Yeah, for this project, if it was a personal project, I might have do the same thing with the dynamic, no casting shadow. The reason it's because of performance cost. Because even if it's not casting shadow, there's still a cost of a dynamic light. So I bake it just because. In my mind, the way I see it is like this light might not be necessary, so I'm not going to be in the cost of the performance of the game. I'm going to do it as a kind of a cherry on top. So yeah, I bake it for performance reason for this game.
Yeah, because in our game we have also limited texture memory. So every time we bake, you have a texture memory, right? So that's why I avoid static baking in our case. But I mean, this is a beautiful shot as well, right? So obviously it helps with being a rim light addict. It probably wouldn't look the same with all the rim lights and edge lighting on some of the items you can see here.